Chapter 6. Jack Quarternud. Jack was bumping down the road, with 2 mules, and a barrel of nut oil. He was sent by the government, to save Wallman, and the government. It was the ultimate test. And this last assignment was a little out of the extraordinary, and they told him to check out if a bunch of stinky, dumpus pissed off rednecks, with their butt-raped horse babies, will be more angry if you stick stuff up their butts while slapping their nuts, or if you put their penis in hot nut oil. That's what the government wanted to know. And Jack Quarternud was their guy. It was his last and final assignment after 60 years in the government service. Little Jack was probably born somewhere on the East Coast, sometime in the late 1930s. Everybody was drunk back then, so nobody really knows anything. His mother, Theodore, as she liked to be called, was an extremely drunk woman, and she drank so much one day that she'd forgot her origin, so to speak, but she mostly believed she was a man. Some say she was not, but still some said that people who'd actually seen her naked, and still was able to communicate, thought it was a little in between. Anyhow, little Jack knew from the very start that women who drink too much become men, and that was a very good start for little Jack. And since Theodore really liked to be the man of the house, she drank a whole lot. And little Jack was really happy to finally have a father, and on the few occasions Theodore sobered up and became a nasty Nazi beaver, young Jack would spend down at the docks of Charleston. There he would see the ships roll in and out, and dream of the whole wide world of mankind. And lots of women too. And all that thinking of both men and women made him super horny. Because Jack was a fine young dandy, and everybody knows that fine young dandies are just super horny all the time. And there by the docks of Charleston Harbor, with a mega boner, Jack had his revelation, and he shouted out to all mankind, "Someday, God, I'll give you a damn good slapping right there on your stinky nodsack and butt cheeks, and maybe on the tits too, and stick your big fat ugly head up your selfish ugly god bud so you can see what a big stinky selfish asshole look like from the inside." And all time stood still. And Jack had the biggest boner of all mankind. He would never ever forget that mega happy erection. He could mirror himself in the veins of the biggest goddamn boner sticking right out there, looking all over the ships, and all of mankind. And what he saw that day in the reflection of the biggest boner of all mankind, and some of the women, was God. But Jack didn't know God, and didn't care much for all that stuff. He didn't even know if God had a butthole. Jack didn't really care about much, because Jack was a fine young dandy, and super horny. Around that time, his mother Theodore had been his father for a very long time, and one day, while she was being a really big man, she forgot both her first and last name. They completely vanished, and never came back. When things like that happened, back then, the government was contacted, and the government don't like people with no names. They get really super pissed off at people with no names. So they took sweet Theodore to jail, gave him a nice firm slapping, mostly on her penis, and sometimes on his tits, and stuck stuff up their butt, for a very long time, because they were super pissed off. That's what governments do, as they say. Since man can't control himself, and especially the women, somebody's gotta do it. So they took sweet Theodore away, and in a sense, little Jack lost both his mother and his father that day. After that, the government became his protege,